I teach another class in which we use these levels of organization. I'm really happy that they're in the book for our class, but I want to make this clear because it's something helpful for us to like frame what we're going to be learning in this class. But the levels of organization are, this is a terrible definition, are, are organized parcels of biology at different levels. And the levels of organization say that the same principles are present at every level. So whether you're talking about an individual cell, which is what I have down here, I have some cells down here, or whether you're talking about an individual organ, I have an organ here, the trachea and the bronchi, or whether you're talking about an organism, or let's extend this, ecosystem, or the entire biome of the earth, the same principles are present. So life, despite what organizational level you look at it, life maintains all of the same principles. For example, you must be able to remove waste. And at all of these levels of organization, we can define how your cells, how an organ, how an organism removes waste. So these things look familiar to us, but there are many different cells that work together, and when they work together, they are called a tissue. There are only 4 types of tissue in the human body. They're in our chapter 5, and we will go through them step by step in the labs. Now, when 2 tissues work together, like some smooth muscle tissue and some other tissue that's secreting mucus, when those 2 tissues work together, we end up with an organ. When 2 organs work together, we end up with an organ system. When 2 or more organ systems work together, we end up with an organism. So each level of organization involves 2 components from the level below it. Unfortunately, in this class, I say unfortunately because you probably will be disappointed to hear this. This is where we hover in Bio 171. We hover on the cell and tissue level. It is not until you successfully pass Bio 171 that we can move on to Bio 172, where we look at organs and organ systems. So this semester will not be comfortable. It will be talking about things that you cannot see and using new terminology. And I just don't be afraid of that. These are the 11 systems that are in the human body. We do not cover all of these in Bio 171. We definitely cover the nervous system, which is the first picture that we have up here. In fact, the nervous system takes us over a month and accounts for, I think, 4 or 5 chapters in your book. We have the muscular system. We will learn about muscle tissue. We will also memorize individual muscles like this one, which is the biceps brachii. There is the skeletal system, which you want to say contains bones. It contains more than that. The skeletal system is about cartilage and some other structures that come together to hold you upright. We will be looking at bone tissue, but we will also be looking at bone organs, one of which is the frontal bone, which is on your forehead. I know, can a bone be an organ? Yes, it is. We will also this semester look at the integumentary system, which is one of my favorites, actually, both disgusting and fascinating. So many of you will want to say that the integumentary system is about skin, but it's about more than that. It's about hair and nails and skin and pimples and other exciting things like carbuncles. The other organ systems we have, I'll just do very quickly. We have a system of blood vessels that also includes the heart, so we can call this the cardiac system. There's a system of drainage called the lymphatic system, which many of you are probably unfamiliar with. And that's okay. It's a system that's kind of behind the scenes. There is the digestive system, the respiratory system, the urinary system, which I constantly refer to as the renal system, which means the same thing as urinary. I just can't get on board with the new terminology. There is a reproductive system, which is different for XX individuals than it is for XY individuals in anatomy. And then there is also the endocrine system, which makes hormones, which is more than just testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. There are tons of hormones that are ruling your body right now. So these are the systems, and of course it is these 4 systems that we will be focusing on in Bio 171, which leaves all of the other ones to Bio 172. So I think 171 is kind of like a hoop that you have to jump through so that you can join me in the second semester and talk about these other systems. Terminology in this class is horrendously important. And actually looking at a table like this is more helpful than you could possibly believe. Terminology can be knowing the difference between the noun form of a bone and between the adjective form of the bone. In fact, a lot of students will point out when we get to the hip bone, there's a fused part of the hip bone called the ischium. That's a noun. But there is also the ischial tuberosity, which is the adjective. So knowing the noun and adjective form of many different structures can be helpful. Many structures in our body are named with a Latin origin, right? And so this makes the ending of a singular word and a plural word very different. It's not just about adding an X. In fact, your upper jaw is called the maxilla, and actually there are 2 of them. You have a left and a right maxilla. If I want to refer to both of these bones together, they are the maxillae. When we look at tissues, we're going to look at open areas in your body, like your bladder, your blood vessels. Those are actually open spaces. They're filled with fluid, but they're open spaces. They're not occupied by cells or tissues. And when we look at them, we're going to learn that an open space is called a lumen, and that is singular. But that many lumen are called lumina, and that's plural. This means that it's exceptionally important for you to be using your book. I will lecture, and I may not, in words, point out the difference between singular and plural. On my website, I always do. In your book, they always do. And this is why you cannot abandon the book as we proceed into the course. You will come to rely on my lectures, which is a bad thing to do. The lectures are only part of what we do in this class. And it's lectures, which are a verbal presentation that uses these terms like you already know them. So is it important to print out this table? Yeah. Is it important to find other ones like this? Yes. Is it important to use the glossary of your book? Yes, it is. And I want to put hearts and stars and balloons around glossary because many students forget about the glossary, right? We get into college, we don't need a dictionary anymore. We absolutely do in this class. In fact, using your glossary as like a check-in, like do you actually know the definition of a word? Using your glossary to confirm that before you set out studying how the word is used is a really good study tip to get into.